Hey there, so today we're going to be taking a look at War Thunder running on the AMD Radeon 780M integrated graphics. This is paired with the Ryzen 7 8745HS CPU, so this whole APU package is pretty standard for this generation. Keep in mind that no matter what system that you have out there that has the 780M, it's going to be roughly the same performance as this. There are only slight variations among all of the different variants of systems that have the 780M, so this should be a pretty baseline number. You might get slightly better, you might get slightly worse performance, but we're talking about single-digit percentage differences. Now, when I first launched the game on here, it did make me do the GPU benchmark that essentially just runs a quick test to see what is the recommended graphics settings to use, and when I did that, it ended up suggesting either the movie graphics settings if I wanted to maximize the quality, but I went with the 60 FPS target, which went with medium, and that, honestly, if you ask me, is kind of an understatement by the game itself. We're going to be running some of the built-in benchmarks. We're going to be trying out the tank battle with the CPU benchmark, of course. This is one of the heaviest benchmarks that they have built into the game itself, and it gives us a nice standardized point so that you can compare your system or anybody else's system with this. So starting off with the tank CPU benchmark, you can see here that the performance that we're getting at the medium graphics settings is just spectacular. We're looking at pretty much high refresh rate gaming. The 1% lows are really rock solid. The only downside is that visually speaking, the game doesn't look spectacular. Still, if raw performance is what you're going for, you're going to get plenty of it at the medium graphic settings, and that's pretty nice to see because most other mini PCs out there with far weaker specs tend to have to get pretty aggressive with the graphics settings, and here you have more than enough headroom that you could really start to adjust things. And that becomes very apparent if we run something like the Modern Combat benchmark, where the result here is absolutely spectacular. Remember, that tank battle benchmark is pretty much the heaviest one in the game, so if this thing can handle that, it's pretty much going to have an absolute breeze through all of the other benchmarks, and it means that when you're playing the game in multiplayer, it's going to be a great time. Although me personally, if I was going to play this game on this system, I would just turn things up to the high graphics settings. You're not really sacrificing much at all in terms of performance, and the visual improvement is pretty noticeable. Specifically, what it does is it helps to deal with a lot of the shimmering that ends up happening just from these lower graphics settings, where the lower quality AA specifically ends up being a lot more of a problem. This pretty much hits the perfect middle ground in terms of visual quality and performance. And of course, you can fine-tune things yourself if you want to try to maximize the performance and visual quality, because these are just blanket graphics profiles, so you can adjust things yourself if you just want to squeeze out the most out of this game. And of course, after trying out those benchmarks, I did have to jump into a game itself and see what the performance was like, and really the result is great. I was running this at the high graphics settings, and the only time that I encountered any issues was at the very beginning. There was just some loading stutters that end up happening, but once you get to the point of being in combat, all of that is gone. The game is performing very, very well, and visually speaking, it pretty much looks as good as you're realistically going to want this to look. For the performance that you're getting, I don't think you're really going to want to sacrifice any more to get very, very minuscule visual improvements. So overall, this is a very impressive title to run on a system like this, because not only are you able to play this very, very popular title, but you're able to get a high refresh rate gaming experience while not having the worst visual graphics settings ever. That's pretty rare for these APU powered mini PCs, so I really cannot complain at all with the results that we got here. But if you're interested in picking up a mini PC like this one, check out the link down below. It helps support the channel. I'll catch you guys in the next one.